I know many TV shows have a masquerade ball. Especially teenage shows like Gossip Girl, The Vampire Diaries and Pretty Little Liars love to use this trope. It gives them the opportunity to play with the fact that you cannot know who is behind the mask and you can show off fancy clothes by the cast. I think Revenge manages it pretty well to take advantage of weaving this trope into the plot. Since we have seen long time no real Grayson party, this is a good opportunity to show off a new extravagant party with marvelous fashion choices by Emily and Victoria. About Nolan in this episode. This scene was a little too obvious how they make him look like some psycho and broken genius. It looks a lot like A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe as math professor John Nash, who suffered from schizophrenic episodes, and I did not appreciate how they involved the police again. Nolan as hostile relative makes us believe the New York police is again not very competent in solving a crime like Padma's disappearance and possible murder. Though again I like Gabriel Mann's performance here and how snarky his comments are with a slightly different note since he is now so desperate and sad. I get why Emily is that irritated when she finds him in what was used to be his office at Grayson Global. I wonder why they, especially Daniel, is tolerating this. He and his bureau looks like a mess and he is definitely unfit for work. So what is he even doing there? Should he be not at Emily's beach house or at his home doing all that stuff? I guess here lays the problem. Officially Nolan has no new home. But what I really enjoyed in this episode is how Emily haunts Victoria with her past. The story about her firstborn son is really something that hit Vicky in the heart. And combining this with the goal of taking down the Falcon was just fabulous. What was more thrilling, seeing the actress who portrayed young Victoria again. Grace Fulton did a very good job in capturing that lost and still innocent girl. I know it is an often used trope again, but Revenge manages to use them quite good so far. With some exceptions of course. But this one was really one of my favorites cause it shed a new light on Victoria as a troubled young girl with many problems. About Nolan and Jack working together against Conrad. Though I cannot see this is going anywhere close to take down Conrad, I like that Nolan and Jack are finally back together and try to speed up Conrad's demise. It cannot be in Emily's interest that this man is going to become governor and get real political power. First of all, this would have the potential to make him even more untouchable than he already is with his connections and amount of money. And second, it will give him a lot more opportunities to hurt a lot more people and be responsible for more harm on innocent victims who cannot fight back. Third, he would in the end profit from Formunder's death through the publicity of the Amanda Clarke Foundation and Jack's support as Formunder's widower. About Emily intruding Victoria's bedroom. This was a big overstep by Emily and I can relate to Victoria being nerved by her. For Victoria, Emily seems to be nothing more than an annoying social climber. I love how the two women use this conversation to hurt each other. First Victoria with mentioning Daniel has moved on, and then Emily with her hint at Victoria's firstborn son about parents who lose their children. It seems as if Victoria is even curious about what Emily has to say, or it is Madeleine Stowe who is looking forward to play this scene with Emily Van Camp. Either way, I always enjoyed their little dance. About the black roses. I like the theatrics of this episode. Even if it was not for Halloween, I love this scene with Emily sending Victoria black roses. A fitting symbol for her hatred and how she wishes this woman all the worst till her death. And again, her eyes are as black as the rose she is cutting now that she has her main target in mind. Emily really puts psychological warfare on Victoria in this episode. First letting her remember that she abandoned her firstborn son and then making believe that he will come back maybe to take revenge. Now talking about the masquerade ball fashion. I love Victoria's dress. It looks like as if it was woven out of those spooky breaths of the Dementors from Harry Potter who feeds of all the sadness and bad memories a person has. A fitting choice for the Black Queen. And the elegant and form-fitting shape underlined again Madeleine Stowe's marvelous figure. And I love again the contrast between her black hair and the red lipstick. She really looks like the evil queen from your worst nightmares. But I think what made me enjoy her performance again was the mixture of fragility and evilness. 'Cause when Conrad confronts her about her secret pregnancy which she told him was terminated, he just thinks about his political career. And is not at all caring what trauma comes to the surface for his wife by speaking about this surely horrible months in her life. About the flashback. I think this flashback was not the right one. Especially if you think about what Victoria tells her son Patrick in season 3 about his father. As thrilling as her story was, I never did quite believe it, as she lied about it once by making it appear David Clarke assaulted her. I know this might have been due to Disney, but it would have been far more emotional and thrilling to see her actually be together with Patrick's father. May it be to prove she was lying and was engaged with that guy, or to show that she was actually molested by him. I know those scenes are hard for actors, but I think it would have been worth, since it would have given her story more credit. Instead of this lame flashbacks with doctors and nuns. Why were nuns and no social workers involved? Did they not exist in the 70s and they had only nuns who took care of those problems? No charity organizations or social facilities? And I like her quote about ghosts. Maybe one of her best, since it was so fitting for the life the Graysons are living since Emily came to the Hamptons. She is the ghost of Amanda and David Clarke is constantly haunting them and trying to find her way back in with Daniel. About Aiden killing Trask. This was no surprise, since from the first episode we saw Aiden killing. First to protect Emily and in flashback to revenge his sister Colleen. So it is no wonder that as she finds Padma dead that he reacts in the known pattern with violence. And Trask is again almost begging to be shot like the Russian abductor in that flashback episode who teased Aiden till he finally pulled the trigger. Two things I hate here. First, they did not show us Padma dying. Why? They could have bring in a flashback mixed with a scene of happier times when she was with Nolan. Then they still would have had the surprise moment, but filled with more heartbreaking emotions. All these scenes with the initiative feel so clinical and sterile. And that they try to make it even worse with Aiden not just shooting Trask but strangulate him to death. That has a whole other quality and makes Aiden some kind of a bad guy, since he enjoys inflicting more pain with this killing method. For me this was a really disturbing scene, and I cannot believe how Aiden recovered of this experience that fast. Pulling the trigger of a gun is fast and easy done. But strangulate someone that is long and takes willpower. About the Masquerade ball. Though I liked Victoria's dress, this cannot be said about the decoration. Her speech and those blood-red cloths looked like a strange mixture of the Masquerade ball from Pretty Little Liars and those spooky ritual scenes in Eyes Wide Shut. Now about Emily's stunning white dress. Again, this was a nice choice because it was simple, elegant and showed off Emily's sporty yet curvy shape. I like that they have this black and white theme. It might be odd, but it is funny that Victoria in black looks all evil while she is the victim, and Emily in innocent white looks like a femme fatale indeed. She looks really great in this form-fitting dress that shows all her assets. And I like how Emily really reveals in her victory over Victoria. I must admit I also love those Venetian masks, though Victoria's and Emily's masks with the stick attached to it look very much impractical. It was nice to see that Victoria's and Emily's mask with the feathers looks more extravagant, like the two are the reigning queens of this evening. Also nice was that they did not make us guess who is behind which mask. I find it always ridiculous when they do that at such occasions. As if the audience would not know with body language and sound of voice which beloved character is hiding behind this mask. So I was happy that no one pretended and everyone was recognizing each other. Speaking about masks, it was funny that Ashley of all people wore not a traditional but a cat mask. By the way, I like that they used music of Mozart for this event. I recognized the Requiem at the end. That really gave the episode and that spectacular scene with Victoria more drama and gravity. About Daniel's little revenge. I like that he uses the same photo of him and Emily Victoria used for her empty threat. And his quote that Victoria should use the bullets for one of her two faces was just hilarious. In the last couple of episodes I really get to like Daniel again. I think it was a trick of the writers bringing him closer to the audience and making him more likable only to make us hate him even more by the end of the season. For me it worked pretty well and improved Daniel was something I wished for since he was first manipulated by Emily in season 1. About Nolan getting to know that Padma is dead. This scene was intense. I knew it would be rough getting to know his girlfriend is dead and he was the reason why. But Gabriel's and Emily's performance really made this scene as heartbreaking as it was. I love the mix of anger, guilt and sadness that comes out in the right amount. He really shows us how this comes in waves. And his I love you too is just so sweet and sad. Nolan knows best that Emily cannot say just I love you. So he takes every signal and interprets it right since Emily really grew to love him in season 1 and 2. It tells us a lot about their friendship that he knows what she is assuming and tries to banish any doubt that he could not be alone or would do something stupid like commit suicide over his loss. Telling too that she finds the power and control to go through with her plan for tonight. About Regina. This new girl was really annoying. If I could not possibly think they would find someone more annoying than Charlotte, I was wrong. 'Cause here she was. Her cast description was probably spoiled girl with lesbian tendency only there to stir up trouble. The gossip and lies she spits out about Fomander. She really deserved that hit from Charlotte. By the way, I loved Charlotte's harlequin dress and the two-colored mask. A fitting metaphor for her fluent status. She is a Grayson and a Clarke. She is a good girl and her mother's daughter, which means she can be bad, too. About Jack and Victoria. This one is my all-time favorite quote about Fomander. Sometimes Victoria is just so rude, telling Jack that a presidential pardon for David Clarke would have been a victory for his dead wife. That is just so carelessly said. His answer is the best quote from Jack in this season, maybe from the whole show.
There's no victory for Amanda. She's gone, which is why my child's being raised without a mother.
And it is the perfect bridge to this new flashback with young Victoria giving up her baby boy. I love the speed and the mood of the scene. You really feel with Victoria and see through her eyes. Her falling down with this red clothes and the black and white checker on the floor is just great cinema. I love to use this scene especially because of Emily's little smile at the end. I know if you think about where the story and her revengender are standing right now, this scene and plot is nothing. And it brings us no milometer forward. But as a viewer you just enjoy the optics and Emily having punished Victoria yet again. We had seldom such fulfilling scenes in this season, so for me that was a win. I do not know what Emily's plan was here. Should Victoria try to find her son with the help of the Falcon? Or did she bank on Conrad that they needed something to cover her lie up, since as conservative politician he could not have this old sin of his wife derail his campaign? Either way it worked, and so they had a clamp for revenge and Falcon plot. This scene between Emily and Aiden was one of my favorites from season 2. I love the tension and him being seriously in danger losing his temper again. And Emily's body language really speaks. I am sorry that I need to pull you through this, and I am so ashamed of myself. It speaks for the strength of their relationship that he can be this honest. His admittance that he is disgusted by her really hit her, but she seems to handle it. Mostly I think because she is disgusted of herself. I like how she reacts to his hand on her check. The chemistry between these two actors is unmatched even by Emily and Joshua Bowman. About Nolan's breakdown and the police thinking he killed Padma, I still do not understand what was in for the initiative to frame Nolan. Was it just to cover up their traces and they played Russian roulette with Nolan, Aiden and Daniel? Either way, the police is again something like a pawn in the gambling of powerful people like the Graysons. I guess it lays in the nature of this show that there is a great amount of skepticism around authorities like police and the judicial system. About the last scene with Victoria and Emily. Victoria trying to find her son or get to know he was in a good state was sad to watch. That Emily stepped by and told the same nun she was pregnant was a cheap trick as a cliffhanger and some of the lowest attempts to keep the audience invested in the show. 'Cause if you wanted to know if this was one of Emily's lies or if she really had a big problem, now you had to wait 1 week and watch at least the beginning of the next episode. The trick itself was not bad. I was confused, especially because they gave us no real explanation for this stunt. Maybe that was even an alternative storyline. I do not know if I mentioned it yet, but years ago I read a fanfiction about Emily having a baby with Aiden. It was not that bad cause they had rewritten season 3 for it. Major spoiler alert. Emily was shot at the boat and lost her memory, but she was really pregnant and the baby was saved. But she did not know if it was Daniel's or Aiden's baby because she was sleeping with both men at the same time. A problem which she would have had in this situation in season 2, too. Let's play a game here. What if she really was pregnant and desperate? What to do? I would say since she is an orphan and values family above everything else, I do not think that Emily would consider abortion. A word they so desperately try to avoid in this show because of politics and Disney, I am sure. But I will not make this discussion since we in Europe have our own perspective on this topic and how they are trying in the States to turn the clock back towards the good old 50s. Anyway, I believe she would keep it even though it comes not handy with her revengenda. Worse, since depending on how far she is, the baby could have been not only from Aiden but also from Daniel, which would have placed a bomb on her relationship with Aiden. I do not know if he could forgive her this cause. A child would bind Emily and Daniel forever together, something even Aiden could not ignore or oversee. Even more if she would try to use the baby as a weapon like she did with her false pregnancy in season 3. With this she could have reunited and wed Daniel in no time, cause he would have been surely head over heels about this news. Conrad would be happy too, and Victoria would have had to tolerate her finally since she was bearing her grandson. Not the best option for Aiden if the baby was actually his, and he should have been silent about this for the sake of Emily's revengenda. I do not think that he would have tolerated this either, so being pregnant would surely be a problem for Emily in any period of the show. Therefore I was more convinced that she lied. And would she not go to Nolan for advice, since she seems not to be that religious, and talking to strangers about this grave matter seems not to be Emily's style? Yet I was as many surely disappointed that they did not wrap it up in the next episode. They just did not speak about it, and we had to assume that it was lie, maybe to explain why Emily was following Victoria.